Alright, Outlaw Radio Live fans, we are live on the air with none other than the legendary West Coast legend. You already know what it is. We got Extra Prolific on the line. How you doing this evening?
Man, I'm feeling good. Thank you for having me.
Hey man, you are most certainly welcome, man. You are an absolutely talented individual, and I actually grew up on your music, man, so most definitely it is an honor to have you on the platform.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So I have to ask you, man, what made you decide to get into music from the beginning?
Man, from the jump, I've always been a music lover. My pops had a collection with soul, jazz. Mom, she had gospel stuff. I always listened to it, went to sleep to music, woke up to it, used to get in trouble for having it on. And then I heard my first hip-hop record, as I explained on the album on DJs and MCs. And I was just like, whoa, what is this? And we started messing around with it, me and my cousins. We would beatbox, break dance, and I discovered that I was able to freestyle. So I started freestyling a long time, well before I started writing any raps. I just used to freestyle for fun. The type of stuff when you're a kid, you letting people know that you can freestyle. You pointing to their shirt, hey, your shirt is blue. What you want to do? That type of stuff.
I have to ask with that, when you said like you freestyled a lot, like as any of your songs, have you ever freestyled an entire song in the studio and it actually landed on an album?
The first song on my new album is all freestyled. It's off of the head. It's called Fresh Print, and I freestyled it. I had something. I was writing a little something, but I was like, I want to do something different, and I did it because of I've been kind of disconnected from the game a little bit. But when I tuned in to certain rappers, they were saying, hey, man, we about to do this freestyle. And so I was waiting on them to do the freestyle. But what I was listening to, I could tell was written down. So I don't know when freestyle became written, but the last time that I was involved with hip-hop, when you did a freestyle, that means you were coming off the top of your head. So I did a freestyle at the beginning of my album, dedicated to all the people who still come off the top of their head and who still consider freestyle when you just come off the cuff and you don't know what you're going to say next. So the first song on the album is all freestyle.
That's what's up, man. You know what I mean? And not a lot of individuals really do that anymore. Like they don't really freestyle their music and it actually goes on a record, man. So you're still keeping it old school for sure.
Yeah, I think it's an art. I think it's part of an art that we don't want to lose. I believe that if you're going to kick a freestyle as far as a 16, you need to let people know this is a 16. I wrote it down, and obviously you can kind of tell people who listen to rap, they can kind of tell when it's freestyle and when it's something that's off the top. And so, yeah, I think it's part of the art that we want to continue to keep alive and also keep the integrity within ourselves. Like, there's no need to lie and say it's off the top when it's not. If it's a freestyle, it's a freestyle. If it's not, it's not. So I believe it's all a part of open mic battling, and I love it.
And also, back in the 90s, Extra Prolific was actually a rap duo. I have to ask you, can you tell us the story behind that formation and, what made the duo actually fall out?
Well, the deal was my name was Snoop, right? And so I was in the Source, an unsigned hype, and I was there, Snoop, I had my demo, and what happened was Snoop Dogg came out. At the time, his name was Snoop Doggy Dogg. And so the label, they were thinking like, man, there's going to be some confusion here. We need to do something with your name. And plus, they were kind of scared of this new guy named Suge Knight.
Oh, yeah, everybody was scared of him.
So they wanted me to do something different with my name. So I said, well, look, you know what? I don't want to change my name, but I can use my casual old group was Extra Prolific, and he gave me that name. He said, you can use my group name. You can still use your name, Snoop, but you can just use the group name as the marketing thing. And so we went with that. And so we just kind of adjusted because Snoop came out, and and we didn't want to have the same name as somebody else, even though people still call me Snoop to this day.
You know, and I don't blame the record label for doing that. You know, Suge Knight. You know, no disrespect to him, but he was pretty crazy back in the day, man. So I think that was probably the best decision.
Yeah. He was doing business the blue collar way.
Most definitely, we'll put it at blue collar for sure. So I have to ask you also, as you mentioned Jive Records, I'm gonna have to ask you, how did you get connected with Jive, and what was it like working with that label? Because back in the '90s, like that was the go-to label. If you got on Jive, like that's the dream, you know?
Yeah, Jive was the dream. It was like Jive or Def Jam, or maybe Tommy Boy in a smaller sense. What happened was my manager at the time, he was driving the CEO of Jive Records, Barry, somebody, Hankerson, I believe his name was, Barry Weiss, one of those, there's two different ones, I can't remember who's who. So he had my demo playing, and he was like, who is this? He's like, yeah, this is my guy Snoop. He's like, I like this. And so they offered me a deal. It wasn't up to par, according to my manager and my lawyer at the time. And so we rejected the deal. Later, they offered me another deal, and that's when we signed. But I got the deal because Souls of Mischief got a deal with them, and Casual got a deal with them. I think Casual had his deal first. And so they wanted to know about anybody else in the crew. And that's when they heard my song, and they offered me a deal.
And that's what's up, man. Like everything in life works out for the best, man.
Elektra at the same time, it was kind of a bidding war with Elektra and Jive, and I ended up going with Jive.
Down the line, did Elektra ever reach back out to you after you parted ways with Jive to get on their record label, or after that it was just like, or was it just obviously a dead deal?
Nah, they were pretty much done with it. But it's funny because Chris Lighty, rest in peace. He was over he had a Violator Def Jam, and he was trying to get me to sign with him after the Jive thing. He wanted me to do another Sweet Potato Pie, and I gave him my best version. I didn't want to make a song just like something I made, but he said, if you can make me another Sweet Potato Pie, I'll sign you.
Did you actually try and make another Sweet Potato Pie at all?
I didn't, man. I didn't feel comfortable, trying to be talking about give me an apple pie or something like that. I just couldn't do it. So what I did is I just made some songs, about 2 or 3 songs that I thought were dope. And because we didn't make that Sweet Potato Pie for him, he just kind of kept it moving.
Hey, man, like you know what I mean? Sometimes one sweet potato pie is just enough, you know what I mean?
But music is from the heart to me. And anytime that I have to contrive something or do something just like what I did before without my heart involved, I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? It comes from the heart. I don't want to manufacture even something that I did. If I did it the first way, that way, it came from my heart. I don't want to try to emulate what I did. I want my new thing to be fresh.
And also, speaking of fresh, man, in 1994, you released your debut album called Like It Should Be. I have to ask you, what was the inspiration and story behind that iconic record?
Man, Like It Should Be, I think I was flipping through my jazz records and stuff, and I was looking for dope titles, and I think I came across somebody with Like It Should Be, some old record. I wish I could tell you who it was, but I can't. And, the whole picture of the album, the whole thought behind the album was that even though I was hip-hop and underground, I always wanted to try to bridge that gap between guys who wasn't crazy about boom bap and those guys who only knew about popular rap. And I thought I could bring both of those worlds together and call it Like It Should Be. And so I made the album with the intention to blow up without selling out the grassroots of hip-hop. I was trying to walk that fine line, and I called it Like It Should Be.
And I saw a post on your Instagram account, and this one, it was a personal question I want to ask, because I'm a really huge Bruce Willis and Die Hard fan. I know you probably know what I'm going to ask, but you actually were featured on the Die Hard with a Vengeance soundtrack. I have to ask you, how does it feel knowing your music is part of a huge franchise like Die Hard?
Man, it's an honor, you know. And what's so crazy about it is, after I left, after I was off the label, this happened. So I didn't even realize that I was on the soundtrack. My sister went to see the movie, and one of her friends said, "Hey, I think I saw your brother's name in the credits." So my sister told me, "Hey, are you on the Die Hard soundtrack?" I said, "Nah, I'm not on there." And so I looked it up. I bought the soundtrack, and lo and behold, I was on there. So it was kind of weird the way I found out about it, but to know that my song is on Die Hard 3 and something that's so legendary, it's an honor. And then I also have a song on the Low Down Dirty Shame soundtrack. And so, you know, it's a blessing, man.
You know, like when not from before when you watch the movie till now, it's like when you watch the movie, does it feel a little different just knowing like your music is in that movie? Like how does it feel when you watch that movie and just know that you're a part of like something huge?
It does. It feels it's like an accomplishment. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, you got a royalty check coming. But yeah, that's why I said I said on one of my songs something about I never met Bruce. I never met Bruce or something like that. I forgot what I said. My song's on Die Hard, but I never met Bruce. What you talking about, Willis? I'm the realest, something like that.
Hey man, that's actually that's a dope rhyme, man. But you know what? That movie still plays on TV today, so at least you're still getting royalty checks and it's still feeding your family.
That's right, man. And if you never heard of me, I know you heard of Bruce Willis in Die Hard, and I can always say like, yo, I'm on there.
Most definitely, man. And when you actually brought up Chuck a few minutes ago about Low Down Dirty Scheme, I have to ask you, man. You actually received a platinum plaque for that soundtrack. What was it like working on that soundtrack, and how does it feel having a plaque on your wall of that soundtrack?
Man, yeah, Low Down Dirty Shame was it was an album where all the jive artists, most of the jive artists were coming together, and that was at the time where we realized in hip hop that a soundtrack was now an excuse to make a dope record. So around this time, you had Menace to Society, that soundtrack. Everybody was bumping. You had like Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. I think the soundtrack was done by R. Kelly and Wyclef. Soundtracks became now a different reason to kind of have a compilation. And so being a part of that was just them choosing. They said, what song do you want to put on there? I chose the song that I created. And then lo and behold, the album went platinum. And because I'm a part of the album, I have a platinum plaque for being on there. So it's not that my song made the album platinum, but because I was a part of it, I get a platinum plaque for being on it. So it's sold over 1 million records.
That's awesome. You know, is it still selling records today? Do you know that by any chance?
I don't know for sure, but I would have to guess, yeah, because you know, people continue to buy. It's probably streamed now. You know, it's a little differently, but still, yeah, it's still being sold, definitely. You know, and it's Low Down Dirty Shame. It's not a super classic movie or anything like that, but it was a national motion picture, and everybody knows about it. Jada Pinkett, what is her name? Sally Fields or somebody like that, and then Keenan Ivory Wayans. Everybody knows the Wayans movie, so yeah.
And also, jumping ahead a couple years there, in 2017, you released the album called Beautiful Life alongside your wife. I have to ask you, what was the inspiration behind that album, and what made you decide to do an album with her?
My wife, she's a singer, gospel singer, and you know, she plays the keys. And you know, for so long, when I first met her, she was starting to do hooks for me, and I would rap on her stuff. But you know, we got married, and sometimes you know people be right next to you, but it's still hard to get things done. And so I said, you know what, baby, let's do this album. Let's come together. Let's do a few songs, and let's mix it up. You know what I'm saying? Like if Jay Beyonce came together and did an album, it wouldn't be all rap, it wouldn't be all R&B. So I said, let's come together and just do what we feel from the heart, and that's what we did. And it was basically just to encourage those who are married, to hang on, and also to encourage those who are single to hang on. Marriage is often, it's almost like disposable these days. If it don't work, then you can get rid of it. If it doesn't, if the year 3 or year 4 it's not as good as year 2, then you can just cancel it all. But we don't believe that. We believe that our vows are true, and when we say to death do his part, that means that we're going to work it out. You don't like me every day, I don't like you every day, but I love you. And that means that's my decision and my choice to be with you forever. And so we wanted the soundtrack that was going to communicate that.
And also, December of last year, you were a speaker at the neighborhood Hope Dealer Toy Drive Christmas concert. I have to ask you, what was that experience like, and what other charity work does Extra Prolific do?
Oh man, I've been for the last 20 years. I've been recording under a different name, Lee Majors. There is another Lee Majors, so I don't want people to get it confused. But under Lee Majors, I've been recording. I've been going to juvenile halls, to the prisons. I've been going to the blocks and the streets, different churches. I speak, I teach, and I also rap. And so this is just what I've been doing. Some people haven't followed me because I've been under a different name. So with this album, I came back with Extra Prolific just so people who knew who I was can see what I'm doing now. But I've been doing this for the last 20 years, man. It's all about building up the community. It's all about feeding the poor. It's all about going to the widows and the homeless. That's all I've been doing for the last 20 years. It's just that some people don't know about it because it's been under a different name. But what it's all about is the hope dealers. We go out, and instead of slanging dope, we slang hope. We give out food. We bless the community. You know what I'm saying? We get into the parades. We talk to the youth. And what we want to do, man, is we want to use this influence of music, not for the negative, but for the positive. I believe that music has a definite influence on the community and the people around us. And if it does, then I want to make sure that I'm influencing people in the right way. So it wasn't a one-time thing. That's what I've been doing for the last 20 years of my life, man. And it's rewarding. And it may not be as popular as some other things, but popularity is not the goal. The goal is satisfaction by doing the right thing.
And I most definitely agree, man. It's always great when, such an established, legendary individual like yourself actually wants to help out his community, A lot of people do it, but it's always good when a well-known figure actually gives back to his community.
Right.
And also, March of this year, so not too long ago, you dropped your newest record, Like It's Supposed to Be. I have to ask you, what's the inspiration behind that album? And also, where can our listeners buy or stream themselves a copy?
Like It's Supposed to Be. How it came about, well, it's very similar in the way that it sounds like It Should Be, my first album. It was actually my man Pete Spray, his idea. Shout out to Pete Spray and shout out to Love, they're the producers. And he said, you know what, you can kind of make it similar to your first album, this new album. And I was like, at first I wasn't sure because sometimes that doesn't always work out. Sometimes you don't always get an Illmatic, Stillmatic. Sometimes people try to do it, and I don't want to call out people's names who fail, but I've gotten things that seem like a part 2 or a bookend, and I was disappointed. And so I was a little hesitant at first. But as we began to do the music, and I said, you know what, man, I think it'll be a good way for people to see where I am now. And for all of the people who realize and know to them that Like It Should Be was a slept-on classic, this is a way for them to see where I am now and also have 16 more songs to bop to. So after a minute, I said, you know what, Like It's Supposed to Be. And Like It's Supposed to Be is different in this. My convictions have changed, and so I'm a different person. And so when I say Like It's Supposed to Be, It's a little different than Like It Should Be. Like It Should Be was more how the sound should be. Like It's Supposed to Be is how I believe we should all view things, which is when hip-hop once had conviction, hip-hop once had heart, hip-hop once had morals, hip-hop realized that we needed to drop science for the generation that was coming up after us. So when I say Like It's Supposed to Be, it's not just the music, it's not just the fact that I've grown lyrically, but it's the fact that I've grown as a person, and I want people to realize Like It's Supposed to Be is not just something that I think we should be doing, but Like It's Supposed to Be is the way we all should look at things. Because we all know the difference between right and wrong, but sometimes with entertainment, we think and fool ourselves and make ourselves think that it's just entertainment, and then I can deal with moral values separately. But I disagree. I reject that idea. My idea is that if it is influential, then let's put things that influence people in the right direction. And so that's where Like It's Supposed to Be came from, man. And you can get that. It's on all digital platforms. Look up my man Pete Spray. He'll be selling vinyl and even cassette on 90 now. And so it's a different thing, man. But it's one thing about it. If you like It Should Be, you will be inspired by Like It's Supposed to Be.
So everybody that's listening, make sure you get yourself a copy of his newest record, Like It's Supposed to Be, man. Most definitely. And I want to ask you, if you don't mind me asking, now, other than your new record, what's next for Extra Prolific? Anything else you want to promote while we still have you here on the air?
Man, I got a couple of things I'm working on, but I don't want to let things out prematurely. The next thing we're gonna do, Lord willing, is we're going to do a video for DJs and MCs. That's the next single. The first single is Bang the Drums. You can check that video out on YouTube. Bang the Drums. The next one is going to be DJs and MCs. I'm writing a remix, and I may have another song or two released with that. Other than that, it's a couple of things that I may have in the works, but it's a little too early to kind of let it out. But yeah, man, check it out. You can check me on Instagram, The Lee Majors. Check out my man Pete Spray. Check out my man O Love. And, we're going to be busy working on some things, but this album was a bookend to the first album. So it's kind of an end of a chapter. It's not the beginning, it's the end. And so it's for all the people who had the first album, all the people who reach out to me telling me how it influenced them. I wanted them to follow the growth pattern and then finally get a conclusion. And after that, will there be something else? We'll see. But this is kind of like when you have a series of novels and the person finally gives you that grand finale. This is that.
So, Extra Prolific, this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual just to give shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to. And also, if you can, drop your social media handles again. That way our listeners can shoot you a follow if they're not already doing so.
Most definitely. I want to thank everybody involved with the album. That's Pete Spray. That's O Love. That's Twelly. That's Micah 9. That's DJ Fresh. That's Scott Thrills. That's who else is on the album? I want Master Ace. Let's see. I don't think I missed anybody. I want to thank everybody that helped me create the album. Chris Cash recorded me. Young Dap recorded me. My wife, Regina Siobhan, influencing me every day, inspiring me. My kids, my 3 sons, Miles, Christian, and Adam, for inspiring me to be greater every day. And, of course, the Lord Jesus Christ, man, because without him, I wouldn't even have the eyes to see what I'm doing out here. And so, man, I thank you. My handle is D Lee Lee Majors. That's Instagram. You can follow me. I'm Lee Majors on Facebook. And that's pretty much it. Get the album. I'm telling you, it's a salute to the time where boom bap in the '90s golden era was taking charge out here. And so I want everybody to get that album Like It's Supposed to Be. If you like It Should Be, you're going to love Like It's Supposed to Be. Personally, I think it's better, but I'm going to let the listeners decide and see what you think. But I always think it's cool to have a collection. something to compare. Like Illmatic, Stillmatic, I think Redman might have did it. A couple of guys have done it. But this is not a part two, it's a bookend. So get the album. It's 16 tracks, just like the first album had 16 tracks. And I'm better with the pen, I'm better with my bars, and I think I'm better with my style.
I gotta say, Extra Prolific, thank you so much for coming up on Outlaw Radio Live. It was an absolute honor and most definitely a privilege just to have a legendary individual like yourself on the station.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. One love, y'all.
One
Stay
love.
safe out here.
Have yourself a wonderful night and stay safe as well.